All right, good morning, and thank you all for joining us today for this special High Notes. We are joined today by Sheree Knowles. And Sheree, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are so excited to have you. Sheree is a talented executive with 3 decades of talent management, culture, and leadership development experience. Sheree is the CEO of two successful women-owned minority-owned speaking too fast. I need to slow down. Sheree is the CEO of two successful woman and minority owned human capital management firms. Um, Sheree's executive leadership at Human Capital Consulting Consortium and HR Knowledge Source has been recognized as one of the top 25 small businesses of the year for 3 consecutive years, and she is the 2022 Minority Owned Business of the Year recipient in Cobb County, Georgia. I do have somebody saying that they can't hear anything. I'm hoping that we are not having volume issues. So if somebody else says in the chat they are having volume issues or can't hear, let me know, but I'm going to continue on. Dana, thank you. I see your thumbs up. Cindy, maybe just hop out and back in. Okay. Sheree, I'm going to let you take it from here. Thank you for joining us today. I know we are excited to hear everything that you have for us and have in store. And I'm going to let you
Pass
jump
the
in.
mic over. Well, thank you, Summer. So, good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to be here. Summer mentioned that some of you were coming in like, oh, I recognize these names. I've met these people physically. So, thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides to get us started. And I believe you can see them. Okay. If for some reason you can't see the slides, just type in the chat and let us know. But again, I'm very thrilled to be here. And to really kick us off, I want to tell you a story about the Brooklyn Bridge. Some of you might be from New York. Some of you may have been to New York. Some of you may wish to go to New York. But let me tell you this story about the Brooklyn Bridge. So back in 1838, after 14 long years, 1883, after 14 very, very long years of construction, the Brooklyn Bridge finally opened. It was highly anticipated. People were waiting for it, getting cranky because it was taking so long. It was like the biggest marvel at that time in New York. So day one happens and people are terrified. It looked like nothing they'd ever seen before. So you imagine it's 1883. They're used to wooden bridges and different types of structures, but nothing that looked like this. And they were afraid to cross the bridge. They were just panicked. And then guess what happened? Anybody want to just mentally guess what happened? P.T. Barnum. So yes, P.T. Barnum of like Barnum and Bailey Circus. P.T. Barnum actually marched 21 elephants across that bridge to show that it was safe. And then the New Yorkers believed. And then they crossed the bridge. And so sometimes as leaders, you're the bridge. You have to show people that it's safe. You have to have an ecosystem or a structure or hold space for people because they may be in a situation where they're anxious or nervous to step on the bridge. And so you have to be the bridge. The other times, you also might be the elephant. And so sometimes you have to go first. You have to be able to model that it's safe to cross the bridge, that it is safe to change a new system or change a new process or a new way of thinking about something. And folks, really, that's why we're here, because that's resilient leadership. Sometimes we're the bridge and sometimes we're the elephant. So I want to start getting you acclimated to this conversation today. So I would love for you in the chat to drop just one word. How would you describe your experience as a leader over the last 12 months? So how would you describe your experience as a leader? So type in the chat. I see challenging. What else? Divisive. Yes. Thank you, Bob and Charlene. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Transitional. Absolutely, Jessica. And lots of change, I would say, right? So as we are thinking about this, I ask the question of myself, and when I am facilitating, I bet some of you are thinking this, is that sometimes it's exhausting. So you might feel exhausted. Maybe you feel stretched. Maybe that's how you describe your experience over the last 12 months, or maybe even uncertain. Maybe the ground is shifting for you underneath your feet right now today. And the reason I built this slide and I wanted to talk about this topic is because if any of you have those words or those feelings sitting in your chest right now, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I see a lot of people co-signing on the word challenging. Absolutely. That is definitely an experience that I think a lot of us have had over the last 12 months. So good job. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Summer did an amazing job of telling you about me, but I always like to start with who I'm not. So in telling you about me, I am not a thought leader in wellness. I'm not some leadership guru who's going to sit here on Teams and give you like, words of the day or high motivation. Like I'm a leader who's been through the trenches. I have spent 30 years in leadership and in HR. I've led through restructurings, layoffs, right sizing, downsizing, culture crisis, you name it. I've coached leaders when they were ready to quit because things were shifting too quickly for them. I've seen the bridge and been the bridge between people and their pain and the organizations in crisis or chaos. So I am sitting where you are, and I probably have been many places that you've been in terms of leadership experience. So that's who I am. The other things that Summer mentioned, I'll talk about briefly, but really who I am, decades of HR experience. She talked about that. I'm a certified EQI leadership coach. I firmly believe that emotional intelligence in leaders in particular can make or break the experience of an employee. I'm a Leadership Cobb alumni. Some of you may be coming in from other places outside of Georgia, but Cobb County, Georgia is the place to be. I'll just have to say that, plug for Cobb. I am a keynote speaker. I believe in real talk. I believe in real action, real lessons, and real results. I am my company is a Cobb Chamber. We won the minority owned business of the year, as Summer mentioned, and we have won our firms, again, H3C and HRKS, 4 times top 25 small businesses of the year. And we were featured on CNBC's TV segment called Inside the Blueprint. So that's a little bit about me. All right, here we go. Having a couple little troubles with the slide. So 1 second. Okay, there we go. I think we're okay now. So as I was thinking about this topic, and again, it's near and dear to my heart. And I think the world, based on even your responses today, challenging the world that leaders are navigating right now, in some ways is unprecedented. In some ways, it's the perfect storm. Did you know, and this was interesting to me, that 43% right now, according to the Future Forum Pulse, of leaders report burnout. And they are 22 times more likely to be in a state of stress constantly, not the kind of stress where it comes and goes that we might have experienced when we were becoming leaders years before. This is constant, 22 times likely to be constantly in a state of stress. There's this consistent and constant and rapid organizational change that has become the norm. It's no longer an event, it's a condition. It is a condition of the places that we work. And it is due to a lot of uncertainty. So layoffs, return to the office mandates, AI disruptions and enhancements, right? Because AI can be disruptive and enhancing, economic uncertainty. And the kicker is all of this is happening at once. It truly, truly is the perfect storm. And as leaders, you are navigating your way through that, not only for yourselves, but you're actually navigating your way through that for your teams and for your staff. You have to be the face of the organization to be able to hold space and support your team while your heart is beating fast too, right? Or there's uncertainty resting on your shoulders as well. So we call this the leadership squeeze at HRKS and H3C. We've coined this phrase because we remember and even now know what it feels like to be like caught in the middle and feel that pressure of things. And so you're stuck between the organization's goals and directives, right? And so the organization wants execution. They want to move forward. They want to do change mandates all over the place because they're trying to innovate, trying to stay relevant. But then on the other side, you have the staff who they don't want to change at all. So the organization wants execution, the staff wants empathy. They want things to stay just as they are. Don't rock my boat. I've got needs and expectations. And so here you are, leader, stuck between the two. And that is what we call the leadership squeeze. Now, in reality, the leadership squeeze never goes away. Change never goes away. The need for resilience is what we're talking about today so that you can actually navigate these things better. So there is sometimes the information gap that you may feel where you've got information and you can't share it, but the people on your team know that you're holding back. Then you have the energy drain. And I talked about that, where you are putting out so much energy to support and show care for your folks that it is just draining you because you're still trying to navigate and manage your own feelings and thoughts about different changes and uncertainty. And then there's the expectation mismatch. Can't say that word fast, where the organization is expecting one thing and the staff is expecting another, and these two things aren't lining up, but you're like stuck in the middle trying to like be the bridge holding the two things together so things don't implode. That is what leaders today are facing, and I dare say that that is what a lot of you who are attending this today are experiencing. So I want to ask you in the chat, what part of the squeeze feels like it's hitting the hardest for you right now? And so you can pick A is the information gap, where you know more than you can actually share and they know it. B, the energy drain, where you are taking on and absorbing everyone else's anxiety, questions, fear, anger, pain. And then C, the expectation mismatch. So the organization says execute up, and then you also have to empathize down. So again, doing that simultaneously. So in the chat, A, B, or C, which part of this squeeze resonates with you? What hits the hardest right now? See if I can see what's coming in the chat. Energy drain. I see that. See A's and B's. Couple C's, expectation mismatches, but the information gap and the energy drain looks like strong winner. Yeah, some of us, thank you, Carrie, experience all of them right at the same time, and they're all hitting us from multiple places right now at the same time. So thank you for that. Yeah, very, very appreciate that. So I want to talk about how we begin to build resilience. We believe that resilience isn't a trait, it's a practice. So some of us may have been born with a little bit more resilience than others, but it doesn't mean that we can't build that muscle. So it takes practice like anything else. And there are 4 key pillars to building resilient leadership. The first one is protecting your foundation. I'm sure a lot of you have been on the plane and you hear the flight attendant saying, At this time, we're going to do our safety check. Please put on your, in the case of an emergency, please put on your oxygen mask and before you help others. And so a lot of times though, in real life, in practice, leaders, we're putting on other people's oxygen masks a lot sooner than we put on our own. The second pillar is leading with anchored optimism. And I put this little quote here, this little thing, not toxic positivity. And I'm going to talk about the difference between the two, but leading with anchored optimism. Managing your narrative, having authentic communication is the third pillar. And then finally, build and rebuild trust and connection. So we're going to talk a little bit about something called the trust triangle. But first, let's look at the first foundation. So here's the truth. We all know this, and I'm sure you've heard it and probably have said it. You can't pour from an empty cup. I think we believe that, but how many of us are actually like living that? How many of us are like applying that to our own lives? And so in order to protect your foundation, one of the things you have to do is decide what's a non-negotiable daily investment in your own stability. What are you doing for yourself, where it is non-negotiable? It is your time for you to invest in your own psychological safety, your own mental health well-being, and your own stability. Some people like to meditate. Some people may have prayer time. Some people take walks. But what is it that you do to invest not just every blue moon, but every day in your own stability? 2, protect at least one boundary. So I believe if you're like me, you say, okay, I'm gonna have these boundaries and, I'm not gonna check my email after 10 o'clock at night, or I don't care who sends the message or whatever it might be. We're gonna have these boundaries at work or boundaries in our personal life. And then we don't stick with them. So in order to build true, good, solid foundation, you have to decide what your boundary is, and then you have to do it, not just be resolved to do it, but actually decide and do it. The third one is to have someone outside of your team, outside of your organization, if you will, that you can process with. In small companies, I've been in HR again for a very long time, and I've worked for really small organizations, startups, tech companies, all the way to big global ones. And one of the things that is very common in smaller companies is that you build such strong relationships with each other. You become friends, you become family. And as a leader, which is amazing, you also have to know when there is a line in the sand that you can't cross. So when you're frustrated with your leader, or you're frustrated with something the organization is doing, you don't agree with it, it is not okay to go talk to your team and vent, because now they're carrying that for you. And so having someone outside of your team or outside of your organization that you can process things with is very helpful. And then fourth, in terms of protecting your foundation, recognizing your own burnout signs early enough to act. So I'm going to say that again, recognizing your own burnout signs early enough to act. So sometimes we get burned out, and we recognize we're burned out when we are in the middle of like falling apart, not anticipating or being able to see the warning signs coming, because they do, bodies, minds give us signs. So recognizing it ahead of the burnout is a great trait, a great trend to have for your foundation. So the second pillar I want to talk about, oh, let me give you an assignment. I forgot I had little assignments for everyone. So this week, if you think, okay, pillar 1 is something that I really need to like lean in on and focus on, I want you to name one boundary that you're going to enforce. So pick one, not all 10, just the one. I want you to write it down, and that's it. I just want you to do it. So one boundary this week. Today's Wednesday. You've got the rest of this week, so count Sunday, so to give you some time, but one boundary this week. The second pillar is leading with anchored optimism. And I am a fan of Simon Sinek. He is a thought leader when it comes to organizational positivity and leading with that as opposed to leading with fear or toxic positivity. And so he says optimism is not naive, nor is it blind. It is the undying belief that the future is bright. So it is acknowledging that stuff happens, bad stuff can happen, and yet I believe that we will figure our way out of this, right? So that is optimism. So I have a little slide here, this little graphic to compare toxic positivity against anchored optimism. So toxic positivity is when we say, oh, it's fine, everything will be fine. Oh, I'm not upset, when really you are. But oh, it's okay, we're fawning. That's another term for that. And everything is going to be just fine. Pick up your bootstraps, let's go, put on your big girl, big boy pants, and let's just do it, right? Like cheerleading. That's that everything will be fine, no matter pretending bad stuff isn't happening or people aren't afraid. Toxic positivity. It dismisses or really disregards reality, and it creates distrust. So people know when you are being disingenuous. Your folks know that. And so when you have that Pollyanna, like everything is beautiful and purple skies and rainbows and unicorns, people can see through that, just in case you didn't know. Anchored optimism, though, on the other hand, is when you are optimistic that things will get better. Not that they're great right now, but they will get better. And you can say, here's what I know for certain. We've been through something like this before. This is something that we can be resilient, like we can get through this. And oh, can you imagine how good we're going to feel when we get past this change, this organizational structure, this, layoff, whatever it might be. Once we get on the other side of that, let's think about what that might be. It acknowledges hard truths. So it doesn't pretend things aren't hard, and it builds credibility. When you can say, yes, it's hard, and I am also thinking toward the future, it builds credibility with the team. So this week, if this is one of the things you're like, oh, I need to work on that just a little bit more, because things are like falling apart and I can feel myself not showing up well, replace one of those, it'll be fine, everything's okay, you're okay, I'm okay, with here's what I know and here's what we're doing. So that simple switch in your language will make all the difference in the world for you, but also for your teams. Pillar 3 is when you build and rebuild trust and connection. So Francis Frey from the Harvard Business School has an article out on the Harvard Business Review called Begin with Trust. And it is such a powerful article and model for years of research that I wanted to share this with you because this really for me is if you have to take one thing away, like take this away. So the first thing as leaders, you have to establish authenticity. The team needs to know they're getting the real you, that the real Sheree has walked in the door. It goes to your character, how you show up for yourself, and what you say and do. There's a phrase that we use in our organizations called the shadow of a leader. It's SHADOW, the shadow of a leader. And what it means is that as a leader, you are standing and casting a very wide shadow. And the people who work for and with you are standing in that shadow, and they're watching everything you do, everything you say, and everything that you don't do and everything you don't say, right? So as a leader, every moment is an on-stage moment. And so they need to know that they're seeing the real deal. They're getting the real you. The next one is logic. They need to be able to trust your judgment and competence. They need to know that you know what you're doing at the end of the day, that you know how to get the job done, that they can rely on you, they can depend on you to lead them in the way that you've been tasked with leading. So the logic behind that, they need to be able to trust you and trust that you can get it done. And then the last one is empathy. They need to believe that you genuinely care. So Being in the work world for so long, I can remember back in the day, and I'm not going to ask you to write in the chat, but some of us might remember back in the day where you didn't really bring your feelings to work, right? You left that stuff in the car, you left it at the door of the building, parking lot, but you didn't come in and show vulnerability. You didn't come in and really like lead with care. There's a lot of studies out now, and I bring this up because February is like Valentine's month. It's the month of love, according to like, the people who made up Valentine's Day. And we should have genuine love, not like bad love. I'm in HR, so I don't mean bad love, but genuine love in the workplace where we care and actually show care for the people we work for, who work for us, and who we work with. So that's empathy, being able to hold space even if you can't say, I walked in Carrie's shoes before. Carrie don't know exactly what you've been through or what you're going through now, but I'm going to hold space to listen. I'm going to hold space to imagine what that might be, or to give you a chance to share what's going on with you, and more importantly, to validate how you're feeling. So, like I said, if you don't take anything away today, this is the gold for you as leaders. So this week, if you're like, ooh, that's something I might need to pay attention to, Sheree, I'm going to challenge you this week. Pick one person, have one conversation with someone on your team or a colleague where your only agenda is their experience. Your only agenda is to ask open-ended questions, to listen, to validate whatever they're saying. And if they need your help to think through solutions, to co-create those solutions, you can brainstorm as well. But the only agenda is, how are things going? What's going on for you? That's it, their experience. And then don't tack like work topics on the back end of it, because I know sometimes we try to squeeze in everything and maximize our minutes. Don't do that. Just period, end the conversation, and then separate ways. So that's the challenge for you this week. Pillar 4 is to manage your narrative. We know that you have access to information. Sometimes you are on the front line of decision making that you know is going to be disruptive to the organization. So you're in those conversations. You're the ones help making these changes and figuring out how to implement them. And when it comes to change, here's an interesting thing. When we are the people that are orchestrating, coordinating, or being involved in some way, having input in the change, we know it a lot sooner than the people who hear it later. And so we've had plenty of time to kind of process how we feel about it, how we think about it. And we've had a moment to like let it sit. And then we roll it out, and we have this really odd and unrealistic expectation that they're going to just jump on board right away. And so sometimes I hear my leaders saying, well, why can't they get on board with this? Like this is a good thing. I'm like, yeah, but you've been thinking about this for like 3 months, 6 months. They just got it yesterday. So manage your narrative, control what you can say, and then say it proactively. So give people the space to process. Be honest also about what you can't share, and say that too. I think people will respect the fact that you can say, yes, I'm just not at liberty at this moment to be able to share all of that, because we have a communication plan that is coming out. Right? So people will respect that. They won't feel like you are like making things up and holding back. You can just literally be honest about that. And most importantly, really, really, really important, never go quiet. I was working with the leader about a month or so ago, and he's like, I'm going quiet because there's too many things happening, and I can't talk to people. I'm like, that would be the absolute worst thing you can do right now, because people feel the vibe. They know things are changing. They don't know what, but they feel something. And for you to then go radio silent, just create space for them to make up stuff that would be far worse than whatever this change is going to be. So never go quiet, even if you say, I don't have any updates yet. Right? That's a message that you can share. So silence is never, ever neutral. So if you're like, oh, okay, I need to practice this, right? Build my muscle in this area. So your assignment for this week is to schedule one proactive communication touch point here's the kicker, before somebody comes and asks you about it. So plan what you want to say up front, proactively, before and not waiting for someone to come and ask you because they've noticed something is going on. So figure out what you can say and say it proactively up front. So those are the four pillars to really help you start to build your resilient leadership. You can apply these techniques, of course, at work. You can apply them at home if you're on a board, if you're part of an organization. Like, these techniques work everywhere, and it helps you become a better, more resilient leader. So we're going to do a quick check-in. You can see that this is kind of the vibe here. I want to make sure you get a chance to weigh in. It's interactive. So for a very quick check-in, I want you to think about this. What am I strong in right now when it comes to the four pillars? So just one number, or what might need work. So is it the foundation where you need to really set some good boundaries and you need to, get the core of you set? Is it optimism where you need to kind of lean into that more, even when things are feeling disruptive or, kind of crazy busy at work? Is it trust? Do you maybe feel like your team doesn't trust you at this moment? Maybe you don't trust them. So do you have to build trust and connection? And then is it number four, your narrative? Are you trying to think about like the best way? So what are you strong in? You can name through the four, and then what might need the work for you? And we're not going to have you talk about it. Just curious to see what you put in the chat. 1 through 4. Got some threes and ones. Threes are popping up. Twos and threes. Yeah, threes are coming up kind of strong in three. And we've got some folks that are like, oh, I might need to work on three. Four for sure. I see that. Yeah, that communication part sometimes can be a little tricky. So I see that. I hear you. I read that. 4 and 2, great. Okay. So as you're thinking about this, the things that you're strong in, do more of that, right? Like, it's always easier to like build a strength when you are strong in that area than it is to fix a weakness, right? That's what Strength Finders tells us, and all the work behind leading with strengths. And then the things that you just need to pay attention to start to slowly build the muscle, make sure that you do that this week and beyond. Okay, excellent. So I want you to think for a moment about the most resilient version of you, who you are. And I want you to imagine that I have a rubber band in my hand, right? And so if I am and you are constantly stretching this rubber band, we're literally stretching it because with deadlines, pressure, we've got to lean in, we got to lock in, we have to be enduring, we have to like get the job done because nobody else is going to do it except for us. And so we're just pulling this rubber band, right? And that's okay to stretch your rubber band. But the key is, do you get it back to center? Can the rubber band go back to its original shape? So imagine if you keep stretching and stretching and stretching this rubber band without any breaks, without any release, at one point, it's going to lose its shape and you can never get back to center, or it's going to snap and break. And then you're off the rails, right? And so you don't have to be unbreakable in order to be resilient. You just have to know how to bend and stretch without shattering. And then, more importantly, find your way back to center. So that is how you start to build this resilience. And so I want to ask you two questions. One, when you just pause for a moment, when you just take a deep breath, you can even close your eyes if you want to. What does the most resilient version of you look like as a leader? How are you showing up? How are you talking? What words are you using? How are you leaning into situations that might be difficult? What does the most resilient version of you look like as a leader? Just give you a moment to think about that. What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Who does it impact in terms of the people around you? Then here's question number 2. In order to be that version of you, what is the one thing you need to let go of in order to do that? So one thing that you need to let go of in order to become that person. You don't have to type in the chat. I just want you to think about it. So if you've got this image of yourself, the most resilient version of you, what's holding you back? What are the constraints? What's the barrier? What's the one thing that you have to either stop doing or start doing, right? So it could be a stop. I got to let that go. It could be a start. I need to pick that up in order to be the most resilient version of myself. But those are the questions that I want you to be thinking about today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, because invariably something else is going to happen in your organization. Is going to be another change, because change is constant, as we know. So I want to ask you a question. How do you know when your tank is running low, your resilience tank? So one of the things I talked about earlier was being able to recognize the burnout signs before they become full blown and you're completely burned out, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of things to think about so that you can do a check-in with self, like, okay, does this resonate for me? Am I in this space? This will be indicators, right, of how you know that your resilience tank is kind of running low. You start to feel resentment toward the people you're supposed to support. Everybody, everything, every conversation, their breathing, all of it starts to get on your last nerve, your last good nerve, as my mother would say. And you start to feel resentful toward the people because they are asking you too many questions. They are passing on all of their fears, and you're picking all of that weight up, and you start to feel resentment. This could be also for the organizations that you're on in terms of boards or memberships, or even in your own family. So that's an indicator. You start avoiding situations that you used to handle with confidence. So you used to walk into that room and face that lion, stare it down, and realize that it's not a lion at all. It is just a mere kitty cat. But now you feel like the lion, right, is so big that you can't even deal. And so you start to avoid situations. You start to avoid people that you just don't want to deal with, where you would normally have embraced that and handled it really well with confidence. So that's a sign. The third one is that you have difficulty managing your own boundaries. Have you ever like blocked time off on your calendar because you know and you knew you needed some heads down time to like work on a project, or to just get caught up so that you don't go into the weekend thinking about work like 24/7, and someone says, "Oh, I see you have your calendar blocked off, but I would just need a moment of your time." And you're like, "Oh, okay." So then you pinch off some time. Then someone sees that your calendar is blocked, but they schedule a meeting anyway. Like, I don't know if that happens in your organization, but that has happened in places that I've worked. And then you're like, okay, there's 5 people in the meeting, so I have to show up. And the next thing you know, that calendar block where you really needed to have the heads down time is gone. And then you go into the weekend feeling the pressure, constantly thinking about all the things you didn't get done, all the emails you needed to respond to. And then you either end up working on the weekend or feeling like you should have worked on the weekend. So either way. So difficult maintaining your own boundaries. That's a sign. The fourth one is having an emotional numbness or difficult feeling empathy. This is a really important one. And sometimes we don't even recognize that we're there. So I want to really talk about this. When you have emotional numbness, or you feel like you just can't care anymore, it isn't because you don't care. It isn't many times because, it's time for you to leave the organization. It's not any of that. It is that you have exhausted yourself, your internal resources, to the point where the gas tank is literally on E. And there's a study out there that I love that talks about the fact that we can't get more time because time is finite, right? So time is running out right now. Time will be, before you know it, we're going to be in March. So time just keeps going, right? So you can't renew or refresh time. But what you can renew and refresh is energy. So there's emotional energy, there is physical energy, there's psychological energy. And so all of those things can be renewed, can be refreshed, and that can help you go from being like on E, emotionally numb, to now having your tank fill back up again. So I encourage you to find that, or you can reach out to me and I can share the energy matrix with you because it's a powerful, really powerful assessment. And I took it maybe about 10, 12 years ago. And I was astounded because I was leading a CHRO, leading a multi-billion dollar organization, and had no idea that my tank was so low in so many areas. I just knew that Sunday nights I couldn't sleep. I'd be up all night worried about what was going to happen on Monday. And I'm proud to say, after I, had that smack in my face that I was really about to like fall apart and on burnout, I got myself together and eventually quit corporate America. And I'm not, suggesting anybody quit corporate America, but I needed to do that in order to get my gas tank back up. And then the last one, number 5, is that you're just going through the motions. The purpose, your vision, your energy about what you do, the passion that you've had in the past is literally, you can't find it. So you are just robotically going through the motions. I'm going to date myself, but there used to be this commercial where it was this man who was just like so beat down. His shoulders were slumped. He was just like going in. He's like, time to make the donuts, because that's what he was doing every single day. And he just was over it. So if you are in a robotic kind of just going through the motions, because, we know our jobs, we can fake it till we make it. I really encourage you to take a beat and really think about, why did I take this role in the first place? Why did I take this job, join this company in the first place? Why did I, get on this board in the first place? Why did I marry the love of my life, if this is your case, in the first place? And try to get back to remembering what it was before you lost your zeal. So if you have 3 or more, if you're like check, check, and check, that's not a weakness. It's information, it's data. And it's just telling you that it is time for you to do something. It's time for you to act. So I want you to just be thinking about that. So as we start to wind things down, I want to share this because I want to build together. So you can leave this webinar and you can say, great, I've got these tools. I'm going to be amazing. And yes, you absolutely can. But if your organization doesn't support or doesn't have a framework or a structure for resilience, then you can only take that skill so far, to be honest. And so I want to offer you that here at HRKS, we know what it takes to sustain the people who sustain the organization. That's you. So we have executive coaching for high pressure leadership transitions and circumstances. We offer fractional HR support when capacity is thin, maybe not non-existent, but just stretched thin. And then we offer organizational culture and resilience strategies to really help the ecosystem, the culture of the organization, think about resilience in a new and different way. I want to offer you something. I never like to leave my sessions, keynotes, what have you, without some sort of offer. And I want to offer this exclusive access to a resilient leadership toolkit. This isn't just like a single page checklist. It is actually a toolkit that's going to give you tips. It's going to help you do your own assessment. It's going to ask you questions. It's going to cover information that I couldn't get to, like in our time together in this webinar. And so I'm not going to post it online. It is really only for those of you who feel like, you know what, I want something to keep me going. I want to be able to use these tools. So you can scan this QR code. There's a big very brief questionnaire for you to answer. You can also reach out to me directly if you want on LinkedIn or email me. But I would love for you just to take a moment to scan this QR code. The QR code also has questions just to get your feedback about today. I know higher level is going to probably send you something and get your feedback overall, but I'm curious. I think feedback is a gift and I want to hear from you. So if you don't mind, just take a moment, scan the QR code, and take just a minute or two to fill out the survey. And if you fill out the survey and you're like, you know what, I don't need the toolkit, it's okay. It's okay. You can always change your mind and reach out to me later. But make sure you fill out the survey because I do want to hear from you. And I do want to stay connected. Genuinely want to stay connected. So at this time, I'm going to just open it up to see if anyone has any questions. I know you can't unmute, but you can certainly use the tool that we have, which is our chat box. So definitely type any questions or comments in the chat. Curious to hear from you. Or your thoughts. If you just want to share what's on your mind, you can do that too. It doesn't even have to be a question. Was this helpful? So ask that question. Did you get what you came for? Did you get a nugget to take away? So that's a question for you. So sometimes when people are quiet, I know that you're just thinking, right? And one of the questions that I might get in my sessions is, Sheree, so, how do you stay resilient? And, how do I stay resilient? And the truth is, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm stretched too thin. Sometimes my heart is beating in my throat. And that's normal, which is exactly the reason why I built these tools to help me, but also to help you. So that's why. Another question I get sometimes from leaders is, how do I really lead through the change, especially when I don't agree with the direction? So if your organization is going to the right and you might not necessarily agree with it, but as a leader, you've got to be able to adapt to it, adopt it, and then share it with your team. So that's I laugh because that's really a whole session in and of itself. But if that is you and you're like, okay, how do I navigate these waters? I'm just going to say, reach out to me. Let's just talk. Let's have a complimentary conversation about what's going on for you. And Jessica, thank you for that comment in the chat. I appreciate it. And I believe that these tools can not just help me, but really help all of you as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate your comments. Absolutely. So as we wind down, our very last slide for today is, I just want to say thank you. Simply want to say thank you. You are the bridge builder, and the bridges that you were building this year, even the imperfect ones, right? They matter. Your leadership shadow, it matters. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, truly want to stay connected. You can email me. You can call me. You can find me on LinkedIn. As leaders, we should all be on LinkedIn, I hope. So find me, look me up. You can check out our website. But I do this for a living, not because I think it's a great idea and that I think, I want to get in front of people and talk about it. I do this for a living because I believe it. And I believe that if I have something that I can share to help just one person, I'm doing what I'm on this planet to do. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And my last challenge to you is now I want you to go out and be the elephant. And so with that, our journey
Sheree,
is done.
thank you.
You're welcome.
This is all great information today. And I think it's refreshing to hear. And the way you present it is just really great. So I'm working on my non-negotiable for my daily investment in my own stability. I wrote that down and circled it, so I know that's That's my takeaway. That's my focus so that I can stay stable. So, for all of you attending and wanting to share this with others, maybe somebody popped in your mind, right? Somebody in your network, a coworker, maybe someone from a former work life, right? That you want to share this with. The recording is coming. Our marketing team will get that sent out here soon, as well as the code for SHRM credits if you are using it for continuing education. Go ahead and keep an eye on your inbox for that. Of course, connect with Sheree. She's got some great insights, and I'm sure you post online and there will be more value if they saw value here today. Coming up with higher level, I will drop a link in the chat as well, but next month, our high notes will be focusing on benefit trends. So we will be joined by a benefits expert that's talking about all the things you need to know benefit-wise and trends that they see coming down the pipeline for your employees so you can make sure those benefit packages are competitive. Once again, Sheree, thank you. I appreciate your time today and hope you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for attending.
Bye, everyone. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.